Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Monsterhearts Just Chatting. Um, we are expecting Emily to join us if she desires. What if she just didn't want to? She just didn't come.
Put off by all of our messages.
It's a little bit of tension to the episode,
Yeah, she's like, ooh. So stay tuned to see if Emily joins us.
Nice.
But this talkback is covering episodes 9 through 17?
15.
Like 15? How many have we done?
15.
This is a 16? No?
This is
the last one.
15.5.
The last one?
Yeah, this was going to be 16.
No, okay. But we needed to take a break.
Yep.
I know what I'm doing.
It's been about half. It's been about the same amount of time.
So episodes 9 to 15, arc 2. So a lot of what we are talking about in the Just Chatting today is going to be centered around those episodes. Of course, anything before that is fair game. If you haven't watched these episodes, there's going to be probably mad spoilers. So if that's something that matters to you, then just stop right now and go watch arc 2. Or don't and stay here and have it spoiled. But I know someone who didn't have it spoiled because she definitely watched the end of the episode. Jenn, you had to leave at the break for the last episode of this arc. But you did go back and watch it. And this question is for everybody as well. But mostly Jenn, what were your feelings on the end of the episode 15?
That was wild. I could not have guessed. It is too bad that Emily is not here in this moment because I assumed that the two of you had made your devious little plan that's where this episode was gonna go, but I had absolutely no idea. I was stunned that we just got Ronni back and then farewell. Loved Steve becoming his darkest self. So tragic and intense. Trying to think. One of the most I feel I don't know, you were so casual about it, Angie, so cruel. The way that Duffy was scampering around as one of those little hollows.
Yeah.
I was awful. I was like, man, we really lost him, didn't we? And then speaking, I guess, of using partners for emotional manipulation, Zach really got.
Oh yeah.
I got for sure.
Emily's here.
We were just talking about all we've talked about is Jenn is giving her thoughts on the end of last episode.
Okay. I was just reacting to. I mean, I just had no idea. I'm really bummed that I missed it too. I was feeling so unwell. I'm glad that I needed to rest. But when I watched it, I was like, damn, I can't believe I missed such a climactic ending to so many of these storylines. And then with Steve's dad showing up at the very end, on top of all of it, obviously still have big questions about that. But Angie, you really took a punch to Zach, I feel like.
Yeah, that was
it's your turn.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not sorry. It really so yes, you're right, Jenn. Emily and I were in cahoots because unfortunately she wasn't going to be able to join us for a longer period of time, and so we really wanted there to be kind of a grandiose exit, and we had come up with a couple different options. Whether
it was very fluid. I feel like every time you guys had a session, Angie and I would be like, okay, but what if it was this?
Yeah, because we didn't really know. There was a couple other times where your schedule was gonna kind of work out with playing with us, but the story wasn't quite right, and then
There was a
that
minute
one-
where I was almost the murderer.
Yeah, there was a couple times where we were just like, oh, is Ronni
Well,
the one doing it?
Turned evil.
But yeah, we finally were like, we were going back and forth too, I think, Emily, of do you disappear or do you die? And then we were just finally like, nah, bye.
Yeah.
But
so intense.
yeah, I didn't actually truly mean for all of that to happen in one episode, but just the way that things kind of rolled along.
They spiraled.
The rules that I have created in like the back end dictated that all of those things had to happen. So
it was
also,
fun to see. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, just speaking of like endings though, like you weren't there, but you were there of just all of the wolves being there as well,
God,
and like Onyx seeing her family.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Like, yeah, my parents, I still don't know what's going on with them. Like, why are
they fucking suck is what's going on.
Collaborating with these
or do they?
No,
when will I find out?
And Steve himself will kill them.
I know. I was gonna say it was fun to see everyone making choices like within like who their characters are. Like, it was fun to see Steve become his darkest self in that moment and what those choices led him to. It was fun to see Josie like go home and deal with her parents and all of that stuff for a while first. It was fun that there was a particular moment. Oh, it was like Steven like ran off to the woods and I followed him, but Vernon stayed to be like, I'm gonna question Ken right now. Like, I got things to find out. And like that, I just seen people kind of like, you know, take their own little paths was fun.
Yeah, Matt, you said, I think, and like after we had shut the Zoom down at the end of the last session, that you, as a like player and a character, were fighting the urge to just like annihilate Ken.
Yeah, I mean, he's, I don't know. I think he seems like he's maybe going in over his head, perhaps, and he doesn't deserve to be annihilated. But I think Vernon is deeply distrustful of him, and it was fun for me also as a player to be distrustful of him. Because I trust everyone in real life, so it's fun to distrust someone, you know.
You're picking up his teeth.
Yes.
Oh my god! Yeah, ew.
Yeah, I don't know why.
We'll see what happens with those.
Give it to
it's in my inventory.
Becca as a hey, I made this necklace for you, but you would like shave the teeth into a heart or something.
It's the teeth of your friend's dad. Happy birthday.
Wow. So that was a solid end to a lot of y'all did a lot of gathering information and working your way towards solving whatever mystery is happening with the serial killers in this town, but also with each other. I think there was a lot of discoveries between the group of kind of who was donning what sort of powers and who was, you know, there was a whole bit between Onyx and Steve, with Onyx letting Steve in on her family situation. All of you trying to figure out how to best support Josie and Josie's ghostliness. Really everybody kind of but Vernon had some stake in the game with, you know, being out. But aside from all of that, so many other things happened, and I just want to know from everybody in this arc, this like winter session, what were some standout moments or like some of your favorite scenes to role play or most memorable things, most memorable scenes?
I mean,
go ahead.
I know the scene specifically that is gonna that had the biggest impact on me and is the one that's gonna be haunting my waking life and nightmares. would be the scene that we had with Steve at the dinner table while Adam was here playing Steve. I put a lot of myself into all my characters. This one in particular has some deep roots to me and to an experience that I kind of wish that I'd had as a kid, and wanting to help like a friend that is clearly going through something, and wanting to be there for them while they're also in a spot of manipulating me, hit me in such a visceral way. But then the unhumanness that Adam was able to bring to the character that he was playing. And if you haven't watched, please go back and watch that part at the very least. But
Unsettling.
that was so deeply unsettling, and I wanted to so badly be there for Steve, who like in our experience of it was just going through something and was being really weird, and I wanted to help that friend, and this friend was saying they wanted to help me, and I was like, yes, absolutely, and then stuck like prey in the jaws of a predator emotionally in that moment, and just was so frozen and afraid in almost like a way that I, like in the bit of Get Out when he's first hypnotized and like is aware that something's wrong but can't move, is how I felt both as Josie and as Sophie. And everything in my brain as a character or as Sophie controlling a character was like, no, get the fuck out of here. This is a bad spot. You are going to get hurt. And Josie was just in and yes in that moment. So
Love. That will be always one of the standouts for sure as well in my head.
Yeah, I mean, from an outside perspective, like the whole Steve, not Steve storyline was really fun to watch. Not only because it was like obviously interesting, but it was also just like fun to watch you guys like RP and like know the thing, but not know the thing. It was just a really cool way to handle the fact that Zach couldn't be there for a few sessions.
Yeah.
And it like added to the story in this way that I feel like often when people can't be there, we just like are their characters, or we have someone else play them, or we find a reason for them to not be there, but for it to like literally add to the story was just really cool.
And I'll say too, outside of the experience of playing like D&D and very, very few experiences outside of that, tabletop RPGs and getting in the head of a character. I'm not an actor, and getting into the space of being Josie in that moment feels like the closest to like fully getting enveloped in a character, in a role, as I have ever done before, and it scared me.
That is a scary thing, but I love that for you because I feel like that's like, I mean, it's so fucking cliche to say, but like I really do think that is the best part of tabletop role-playing games, is the like, and if you do it right, it really is a performance and it's a story. And I'm a firm believer that tabletop role-playing games and actual plays are like the next new medium in storytelling, and like one day it's going to be normal to like go out on an audition for a campaign that's going to be like having a run at a theater or something like that. Like I really do firmly believe that could happen, because it's just it's improv storytelling with mechanics that allow fate to get involved, which is just so very interesting and fun to watch. And so I love that you had that experience, and jumping off of that, I think that's what made the last episode so emotional for me, because echoing Sophie, I obviously have a lot of myself in Steve. I mean, I said it in the other talkback, but I also have a dead dad, and so like, first of all, Steve was very invested in Duffy. And so the Duffy thing was like a hit, not nearly as much as it was, obviously, for Josie, but it was a small hit. And then, even though Zach knew it was going to happen, seeing Ronni die and like mourning that not only as Steve but like Emily as my wife, like that was a hit. Then there was like the text to my mom that was super emotional, and then yeah, just like the kicker of seeing my dead dad, because Zach, as I said off stream, have had dreams where my dad just like comes back and like is there. And the dreams are always very weird, and it's like, what are you doing? Where have you been? Like, what's going on? And so it was just like, it just like, poof, like it hit me like a wave of emotions. But it was a lot of fun too, because it's fun to experience those intense emotions and memories in a safe environment, which is fun. Because, like I said, I've had a lot of dreams like that, but I can't necessarily control my dreams. So, like, that was a very small moment of it, but I'm extremely excited to get back and, like, be able to take something that is in my dreams that I frustratingly can't interact with and actually interact with it in this medium of tabletop role-playing game. Like, I'm very much looking for, and that's just, you know, again, I think that's what gives TTRPG such a good name. And then just like one other thing as far as moments that stuck out is just because it was kind of a light in the darkness for me, and so it was really fun to latch onto, was the whole Dustin Steve thing that really came alive in Arc 2. Which was a lot of fun for me. It was very unexpected. I, as Zach, fully expected Steve to go through this whole crush on Josie and ask her to the prom and like have this whole thing, and then the Dustin thing just kind of came out of nowhere, and I think that it was really fun to explore. Yeah.
Funnily enough, I think, you say it came out of nowhere, but on let me see. There was on session 1.
No way.
I said Dustin has a crush on Steve immediately.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
In
Nice.
session 1, because immediately he
Love
was
that.
like the one person that he was like reading a book or something, and you had like asked him what he was reading, or like there was some conversation about like you got.
I said
into,
they
like,
had to audition for the play together.
Yeah.
And there was a moment where I was just like, oh my gosh, a high school boy who is getting like attention and gets to talk about his favorite things, and also is like kind of already struggling with whatever sexual questions he has. He's immediately going to be like, oh my god, this guy's so cute, and I can talk about video games with him. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's so great.
So it's funny that it came out of nowhere, because like for Dustin it was day one, baby.
That's so fun. I love that. That's exactly what happened with the characters, I feel like. That's so great.
What about
I feel like similarly for Onyx and Josh, like I don't think like there's something very like cute about them, and I don't think I expect, like, I mean, Angie, you said you didn't expect Onyx to say yes to him asking her.
No.
And I do, like, I'm curious to keep like playing it, because I think Onyx holds him still a bit at like arm's length, but like for being like whatever, like tough wrestling boy, he's like such a little sweetie. It's so cute.
He's such a dork. Like he's just
I know.
He's been hanging out with y'all this whole time.
I know, and he like
become...
literally like is not asking any questions. He's just kind of like, okay, I'll go along with it all.
Yeah.
I would say that like the dance was like such a highlight for me, like overall, not only because we got to play so much of it in person together, which was so fun, but
that was my highlight. That
was so good. But also just like, I mean, the cocaine, the spin the bottle game,
Truly
like
so unhinged. Like
so
really.
unhinged, but like different tensions of like people trying, like not speaking to each other, trying to reconcile, trying to keep secrets, like Vernon with Cora and Becca.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Josie just like letting loose, and like
Josie ready to fall in love with anyone.
Literally.
Yeah. Josie was just really looking for some sort of like feeling of being one truly, pun intended, alive.
Mm.
And also, yeah, like looking for like some sort of connection and attachment to humanity, and has gone through so much and was trying to let go. And yeah, there's no there's no days off from being sad in Monsterhearts. So
No.
For real.
No.
yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
even like not intended. Like it was so interesting that it just so happened like the roles were like a little bit lower, and then Cora was going through her whole vampire thing, so like she was trying to like dip out. But it's again, it's just like kind of like the punches that were happening with Steve, like that whole dance sequence was just like punch after punch at Josie in
Oh,
so many
yeah,
ways.
for real.
Yeah. And I just felt so bad. I was like, damn, I just want Josie. I want somebody to like at least try to kiss Josie.
Mhm.
That
The
was
dance,
yeah. I mean, like not getting to have the kiss with
Yeah.
Cora was like,
Still an
what
origin
the fuck is
story.
happening? Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God.
Go ahead, Matt.
yeah, the dance was fun because it was over a few sessions and there was a lot of tangling and crisscrossing and lots of different dynamics that were constantly changing. Yeah, I mean the dance for sure is a
That's a
highlight.
high school dance though. Like that
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
thing
for sure.
felt like
God.
where
It
like
did.
For real.
it's only 2 hours long. It was like from 7 to like 9 p.m. But like at the beginning you were all fine, and then you're doing cocaine, and then you're drunk, and then
You
you're
lived a
dancing, and then
lifetime.
you're kissing, and then you're
Oh yeah,
sad.
the thing with Alaska also, that beautiful
Yeah.
little
Where she came
Wow.
out, yeah, that
That was
was
a
Yeah.
Degrassi episode, 100%.
it was yeah.
Yeah.
Part 1 and part 2.
Yes, for real.
I think the moment or one of the moments that stuck out to me the most was Cora sabotaging the podcast, and then
Oh
the
my
is she a
God.
vampire? I like the slow play of like, oh gosh, she's been
Yeah.
talking to my sister. That was fun.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I kind of echo what everyone else said, but there's a lot of me and Vernon's character. And I'm finding, and I didn't
Especially the creepy
even.
parts.
I mean, well, I didn't.
The ability to stand dead stone still.
Yes, the ability to creep around. I didn't really create the character as like a reflection of myself. I think I mostly created it because I like the idea of having a person who's cold and hot, like
Mhm.
emotionally distant, but people are somewhat for some reason drawn to him. That's like my concept of why I wanted to choose character. But there's catharsis in as Vernon is growing. He's becoming a lot. I mean, he's obviously heightened and feral, but he's a lot of his mistakes and follies are some of my own insecurities and mistakes that have come through and like things in my past that have I've regretted. I'm playing as Vernon, like as if it was me, and there's a lot of like built up stuff that maybe has yet to come out, but it's fun, and you know Vernon is like kind of off on his own a lot in the story, but I mean I mean it's fine with me. I think it's fun. It's fun to like I'm not putting any pressure on myself to like get in with the rest of the group, of course, but you know it's wanted to happen kind of organically, and I think it's been great. It's been really fun.
I really like it too, honestly. Like, I was going to touch on that. I was going to say, like, it's been fun to be, like, what kind of feels like a viewer to Vernon's story. You know, because, like, we're not really there. None of our characters are there for big things that happen to you. Around
Yeah.
us, you're just, like, a very normal guy who really plays it cool, and we don't really know much about you. And so it's been fun to like experience those things and kind of discover. Obviously, there's probably more to it than this, but like me as Zach has always been like, what's Vernon's secret deal? What is the like mission that he is on? What is the like, you know? And I mean, once again, I might be wrong, probably am wrong, but like it seems like it has been fun to discover that Vernon is just a guy who happens to be a vampire. Like he's like he's not. There's nothing more really to it than that. Like he is a vampire and it has to deal with life in that way. But there's not like secret motives or like malicious intent. Like it's just like a dude surviving, and I think that that's been fun to discover.
I wish that we'd been able to explore the Ronni and Vernon relationship a little bit more because they shared a cigarette on the first day.
Yeah.
And, you know, she had seen the name Jasper on one of her dad's records. Like, if Ronni had stuck around, that probably would have been its own thing. And I'm interested in how that would have, like, affected the group dynamic.
Yeah.
The kind of the concept of the podcast was started with Ronni, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you're the detective.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was I felt latched onto Ronni at the beginning, but I was also betrayed because I didn't know that Ronni was going to die. That was very sad.
Me neither, man.
I've loved watching our relationships develop. Like, I know I've said it to Jenn, but like Steve and Onyx's friendship is so it's so wholesome to me. And it's like I feel like it's so cool to have just these two like just like platonic soulmates kind of a situation. Like, they do clearly immediately love each other, but like in a very just like friend way. And that's been fun for me.
It's funny, like, as you all have said, like, that there's such big pieces of yourself in these characters, because I feel like I kind of created Onyx to be very, very different from me. But that relationship has brought out, like, the Jenn in Onyx a ton. Even, like, I think it was last episode when Ronni came back and I was like trying to encourage Steve to like reconcile with her while also having this fear of like, what if I lose my friendship? What if I get kind of like usurped or replaced? Like, that is such a real thing for me. Like, the way that I like value friendship and like feel always scared that I'm like replaceable in some way. Our relationship reminds me of my like real life best friend that I met in college, who like he and I always, I mean, people constantly at that point, we've been friends for like a decade now, but we're always like, you two are like secretly in love, like you just haven't realized it, like, and being like, no, like you don't understand our relationship. And it feels very that, just like a younger version of it that's very like precious, and I'm like, I brought those friendship values along with me, even with all of Onyx's like hardness, you know.
Yeah, I love it. It's great.
Yeah,
it's definitely like like it's such a, I feel like their relationship is so interesting and it works because it's kind of like a real like role reversal relationship. Like Onyx is like the protector, and like Steve is, you know, the I don't know, just dramatic one. Like, but it's been it's just that the relationships, and then like it was interesting It was interesting being Steve, knowing what Josie went through, and that knowing that Josie couldn't avoid subconsciously seeing me and thinking of other Steve. And like I do almost wonder like what would have happened if there wasn't that other Steve conversation and Josie didn't feel different from Steve. Like, would their relationship have grown pretty quickly, and like would the Dustin and Steve thing not have happened? And like it did actually, it felt like in arc 1 Steve and Josie were very close, and in arc 2 it does feel like there's been a distance that has grown there. I think that they still care about each other, obviously, but I don't think that they're nearly as close as they were at the beginning of freshman year.
Yeah. And meanwhile, here comes Vernon finally getting into y'all's crew and like hypnotizing your mom into taking you to anywhere.
Hypnotizing her into insanity.
We haven't even talked about the fact that my mom's fucking insane.
Oh boy.
Also, we didn't talk. I want to talk about something that was like, so much crazy shit happened that I feel like this kind of flew under the radar. But something that I want to point out that Angie gifted us with during her like whole speech as the mother, which was really cool. I loved watching you play the mother. The mother was such an interesting character. But correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I know Angie won't, but I guess the others, correct me if I'm wrong. But like, I think the mother implied that she tried to do the same thing with Josie, and Josie's like body like couldn't handle it, and
Yeah.
like that's what killed Josie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is definitely something that I
was
found interesting.
my understanding.
Yeah, yeah. So
Either
it's like,
that's
I
what
wonder.
killed
I
Josie-
wonder what's up with that.
Angie's
that-
eyes right now.
I will say, the only thing I will say is that you are on the right path.
Interesting.
Mm.
That's not
Interesting.
fully it, but you're on the right
There's
path.
some, yeah. I think the area where I'm wrong is her body couldn't handle it. Like something else. It's something else with that. But
I was gonna say either that's what killed her, or like she killed Josie intending to like turn her into a hollow, but like that
Like it was an
didn't work.
experiment gone
or
wrong.
like death is step one, and then she failed the other
Yeah,
steps.
yeah.
I like
okay.
that. That makes sense.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, poor
I think it's
fucking
interesting
Duffy.
how
Oh.
the world went from sort of, or the plot line, like your guys' objectives went from like this whole open world where like shit's kind of weird, but nobody really knows what is going on,
Mhm.
to like, oh, this is what's going on. And you guys still obviously don't know a lot, but it's like, you know, so much more than you did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Because
And
I mean,
you know
we
so
were still,
many pieces. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think up until the moment, I mean, I guess we knew of Mother because of like, you know,
Fake
the
Steve.
yeah, like, you know, Angie did that scene where like none of our characters was there, but she like kind of
Yeah.
did that narrative scene, and I
Yeah.
think our characters though, up until that point, it was firmly like still could just be humans, like, or like something
Yeah.
normal, or like a guy, or like a serial killer or something.
mhm.
And I think that like now it's officially like going off of what Emily said with like we know more, and it's like, okay, something supernatural is happening. Like there is something
Yeah.
strange and weird out there in the forest, and the werewolves are involved. And I still do think that maybe some like I think that Steve brought up some good points as far as like where are the cops? Like where, like we've like there's been these missing people. They're
Great
never,
question.
Yeah, they're never out here. Also, that detective was just randomly out there and like completely
I don't
wouldn't have
trust
gone
her.
like just shot first, like just shot, like not like no protocol, no, you know what I mean? So it's like something. But there's still. I love that we know a lot more, and we have a way to wrap our heads around it, and yet there's still a lot of missing pieces, which is
Mm.
I would love to have one good role about my parents.
Yeah, you've really gotten fucked with the like
Please.
when you rolled, I think, twice in one of those sessions
think
where
I
you were
failed
trying to
twice
find
down a row.
evidence. Yeah.
Tragic.
Yeah, you couldn't
will
even find a
say-
tuft of hair. Like bullshit,
Yeah.
you couldn't find a tuft of
Like,
hair. You know what I mean?
humiliating.
But you failed, you know.
I will say for all of you, but primarily Josie, this is just one, because I know we have very limited episodes left, and so I'm not going to give you like a path or like any sort of hint, except that Duffy did tell you what happened to Josie. So if you want to know, go back into any conversations that you've had with Duffy, Josie, and
Whoa.
He was
it,
down.
it was in there at some point.
Interesting.
Someone make a
Good.
Duffy supercut.
Yeah.
Duffy
Well, hey,
supercut.
can one of our fans,
Hey, Chat,
any of
make
you,
a Duffy supercut.
Hey everybody! Hey, stop! Oh, don't everybody volunteer at once. Just we'll pick
Not
one
all
of
at
them.
once.
And while you're at it, do some fucking fan art for us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. I just like that's all I want to come from CharmedPersons. Like I
It's
don't
just
care
fan
if we,
art.
I don't care if we make a single fucking penny. If we got fan art, I would be like, yes, okay, we've made it. Thank you.
At least make an animated Amazon Prime show.
Yeah, the bare minimum is Amazon.
Please.
At the very least. Okay, so just because we're going into the very end of freshman year, there's been a lot of characters that you have met, that you have interacted with. Who has been like your favorite NPC, or who do you want to like see more of?
Bridget Townsend.
Yes, Bridget Townsend. I
Okay, then
still
I'm writing these
firmly
down.
believe that there is more to her than meets the eye.
Vernon has her phone number. I wrote it down.
He
so
has
I got.
her
Yeah.
fingers on the pulse
God.
or something.
She does. I still think, I don't know why Zach thinks it's weird, because
Bridget
it's definitely
Townsend.
Zach and not Steve, but something was weird about her art piece in the art show, and the fact that it had to do with the missing children. I don't know why I hated it, but I hated that.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like,
Well, it was
what are you
unsettling.
doing? It was so unsettling. Yeah, so it's like, what's up with you?
Wasn't she like dressed like a dramatic like French?
Well, she like after the disappearances started, she really started playing into the like mourning value of
my
it, and was
gosh.
like, yeah.
One flashback character that you guys probably don't even remember is, I think his name was Eddie, my tech guy.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just gonna say that Becca knew that Eddie that was my tech guy. And if you guys have some mysteries to be solving,
Oh,
yeah.
But
okay,
also,
I'm
to
writing
be
that down.
fair, Eddie also thinks that you were taken by Russia.
For sure he does. But
Yeah.
he can probably at least get data. He will draw
Yeah.
weird conclusions about it, but
Okay, but the data, he just needs to get the raw data.
yeah, he can hack the system and you guys can draw the conclusions.
I'll ask Becca about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
She probably honestly would know where like all of like my detective stuff is hidden in my room, like anything I didn't have on me anyway.
Yeah.
Cora was a standout for me. I loved Cora and her whole journey.
That arc was really fun.
Yeah.
I feel really bad about I to the point where I hear the name Cora and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry.
Who you should feel bad to is literally telling the girl that you just took home to perhaps
sleep with,
take her virginity. Your ex-girlfriend's there and you tell her to leave.
Go away.
That's
I don't know how Becca comes
God.
back from this.
That was really satisfying for me as like a person playing that character, to like really just tell Vernon off.
Yeah.
Like, not like for any reason, because like I pictured you as someone that I needed to tell off, but it just like the injustice of it was just so satisfying to be like, you fucking took home and then told, like, it was just very satisfying.
Angie,
you guys gotta take care of Becca for me.
I have a question for you, Angie.
Oh God.
Because you always tell us before almost every session, you're like, I have no idea what's gonna happen today.
Yeah.
And so I know you definitely do prep and you plan and you have some story elements that are like decided ahead of time. But what is like a choice that one of us made during this second arc that you just like really didn't expect, or that you really enjoyed, or like what was something unexpected that just really stood out for you?
Good question.
Oh shit.
And why was it Vernon bringing cocaine to a 14-year-old prom?
Well, okay, so Vernon choosing to share it with you all was definitely something that startled me, because I literally, in the heat of the moment, being like, what would a eternal immortal vampire do with her little brother on a weeknight? What could it be? And I was just like, yeah, cocaine, sure.
Or baseball.
So I just like threw that out there.
Yeah.
But that was taken. We can't. No. I would like to think the Jaspers are like absolutely know what the Cullens were up to and try to like avoid that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The Cullens are canon in this world, and they're looked at.
The Cullens are canon. He does not sparkle. Oh my gosh, that's such a good question.
Wait, do I sparkle?
No, you don't.
We wouldn't know. It's always so overcast.
Oh.
Suddenly in the spring, you start sparkling.
It's hard. It's really hard because
it's a hard question.
I think that there is so much that I just like, because essentially my prep is, and this is something I learned from you, Zach, when I was like, how do you like have these like beautiful, brilliant role-playing conversations with NPCs? And you told me that you just know like what they want, like what their motivation is. And so every session I've just been going through every NPC and writing kind of like where their emotional state is and like what they could want from that. Yeah. And so really, generally, you guys are dictating the plot of this whole thing. And so a lot of the things I think that surprise me are, oh shit, I didn't expect that they were gonna go. So okay, so I guess one of them is I I might have told this to Adam because now that he's like in on it, I can like tell him these things. But I didn't know that you guys would go to Ken's that one time, and I was like, oh, if they go to Ken's, they need something to like fuck them up. And so Josie's parents being at Ken's was like total in the moment.
Oh wow!
Like
Nice.
had no idea.
Was that so? Was then them? So does that mean also that them thinking that she is possessed was also an
was also because I was like, why would they be there? I was just like, I wanted something to throw Josie
don't think
off.
She's dead.
Yeah, they obviously don't think she's dead. They know that she's being weird and like not like their lovely like daughter, and she's been like cold and clammy and like da da da. So they're like, oh, she's got a xeno.
It was a perfect, like, when you said it, I was like, oh, of course they think she's possessed. Like,
yeah.
How could they not?
And then it ended up being an excellent leeway for Josie, who I think was missing that session, to like leave, to like go home and like try to settle things with her parents. So it was like, it all like everything has just like worked out in terms of people being absent, in terms of storytelling, in terms of like who's coming in and going out. Yeah, it's been, I think that's what's been the like hardest to prep for, is that I truly am, I think once per session at least, like, oh, this is what's gonna happen. Like I have to on the fly.
And there's so many characters, and to top it all off, we all have cell phones. We could just call anybody we want.
Randomly. It truly is. It truly is.
One fun example of one of your in the moment decisions, just like a peek behind the curtain, is I wasn't sure if I was going to come back, like when I was going to come back. I wasn't supposed to come back the session that I did. What happened is literally in the last 3 minutes that you guys were playing the session before, Angie texted me and said, well, what if you just did come back though?
Oh.
And so the like, what took you guys so long line right at the end of the episode, we were actively deciding that that was going to happen, like as she said it, basically.
I literally texted Emily on Discord and I was like, hey, are you cool to come back for the session on the whatever date? And she was like, oh yeah, I could do that. And then I was like, okay, I'm doing your lead in. What took you guys so long? Like so that was definitely
we got some good cliffhangers.
I love a
Monsterhearts
cliffhanger.
Says, me too. And we've had a lot for sure.
Okay, final question. And I
question.
want this to be individual. You have one question that you can ask one other character in this panel without like jeopardizing any like future plot things. It can be like a clarifying question, or like a, hey, I've been thinking of this moment, is that what I thought it was, kind of stuff. But you have one question to ask one character, and it can be an NPC too if you want to ask me, and I'll let you in on it, but think about it.
I have a great question, and yes, I'm saying my own question is great.
Go do it.
Great.
What's up?
It's kind of a two-part question, but it's about the same thing.
Okay.
In Ronnie's dying moments, her and Steve ended on really bad terms.
Yeah.
Which is something that is going to haunt Steve for a long time.
Yeah.
Did she have any thoughts regarding that, do you think? And also just in general, in her dying moments, last thoughts, what were her thoughts, do you think?
Well, I think we talked about this right when we stopped streaming. So I'm glad that you brought this up, because like as we were sort of finishing up the session, I was reading the description of her darkest self. What sucks about Ronnie not being able to be around is that Angie and I homebrewed a skin. And her darkest self had everything to do with like, she's gotten in over her head. Everything is out of her control. And I think that Ronnie has always been so like, oh, I can do that. I can take care of that. I can get out of this situation. I can find that information, like overly, like delusionally confident, that it literally took her being in that position to like go into her darkest self and realize that everything was fucked and out of control. So I think she was literally died in her darkest self. But I think in the moments right before that, Steve was absolutely a thought. I mean, like, one thing we never got to explore really is like Steve and Ronni had been best friends for a long time. And things were a little weird at the beginning between them, but like that was like a solid, friendship. And so I think he, if anybody, he was the person that she thought about, like, not only did she feel bad and that was a bad last moment and everything, but like she came and asked him for his help and pulled him into this situation, and she's about to die. So I don't really see any reason why she wouldn't assume that Steve's about to die too. And I think that guilt would probably be a lot of what made her realize how out of control she was and what would have sent her into her darkest self.
Truly just like so horrible. Like just
Yikes.
like
I was telling
her last thoughts
I was
were
telling
just
Zach,
it was just miserable.
I was telling Zach, I was like, I knew Ronni was going to die. I was very prepared for Ronni to die, but what I wasn't prepared for is like the emotional impact of Ronni dying on all of you and all of the other people. And it was just so sad.
Yeah.
I mean, you wanted to feel like there's some redeeming factor in like losing a character like that, but it really just feels like miserable end of story.
She just got really in over her head.
Yeah. Ugh.
It's like those kind of deaths are like the scariest. It's like why drowning in a frozen lake is one of my biggest fears, where it's like you can reach the surface, but then you don't reach the surface, and you're so close to salvation, and you just know you're gonna die, and just like the thought process of just like knowing that it's happening and knowing that like that just sounds horrifying to me.
Yeah. I feel like my question kind of follows that, because I was going to ask Steve a question. At the very beginning of the campaign, like I said, Steve and Ronni lifelong friends, but Steve was being real fucking weird to Ronni.
Yeah.
And we sort of talked around it being about like the fact that his dad died, and like that just is really weird for two like preteens to navigate how to like deal with each other emotionally in that way. But like, what was up with that, man?
I feel like I'm on like the reunion episode of a reality TV show.
Yes.
Yeah, you're in a suit. We're all in like rags.
Oh my god.
It actually had really nothing to do with his dad, other than the fact that he found this book. I think it's not the most interesting answer. It's pretty simple. I think that Ronni has proven to Steve in his life that she is incredibly nosy and like gets in other people's business, and also literally like she just like, when you investigate someone, especially when you're like investigating someone for a crime, inherently there is a lot of judgment in what you're doing. You're taking pieces of evidence and you are judging off of that evidence and so I think he expected a lot of judgment to come from Ronni, and this magic was like a new dark thing, and he knew that if she discovered it about him, was going to give him a hard time or make him try to stop, and I think he didn't know how to broach the conversation with her, and he was also just a 14-year-old boy, so the way he did that was just kind of be mean to her and push her away. Yeah. Unfortunately.
So brilliant.
My question is for Onyx. So Onyx obviously is pretty, maybe not publicly to Vernon, but publicly distrustful of Vernon. And probably disapproving of his actions. But also on the flip side, you did agree to join the podcast, and I think there's probably subconscious feeling of Vernon that he invited Onyx to be on the podcast to kind of like win you over in some way.
Yeah.
Just like try to win over people who don't like him, that kind of thing. So I guess my question is, does Onyx think that Vernon is redeemable? What was your motives for
You
joining
like
the
me
podcast? Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that has been like a fun like choice to play out, because I don't think it like totally makes sense like logically that Onyx is like, I don't trust this person, I don't know what his deal is, but I'm gonna go into this business relationship with him in a way. And I think that I mean, I think that that decision for Onyx really was about like um just like the access, the opportunity, like kind of being like, it would be stupid for me to say no to this. And like I can already like, I'm already experiencing this guy like recording every time he's around me, so at least if I join him, like I'm in control of what gets said. um but I think that um I think that I think that I think of um Onyx is very like stubborn, so it just takes her a really long time to like change her mind about someone. I was like, I mean, Steve and I feel like constantly have gone through these times where we're like pissed at each other, and then like time passes and we haven't spoken about something. And I do think that Onyx as a whole will probably be on a journey of like softening and letting people in a little bit more. So yes, I do think that that is like on the horizon with Vernon, to give you a little hope. um but I mean, it's already started to happen, right? Like we're traipsing about together in the same group. But I do think that she is just like really stubborn, and even though she's like probably already started to trust Vernon, admitting that vocally is like a different thing, you know.
Satisfactory answer.
Thank you.
So you are Vernon. Robot. You're like a robot vampire.
um this is so hard because like I think that my main question I want to ask is for like an NPC, but that doesn't seem like the most interesting thing to do right now. um
Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
okay, well then I want to ask, my instinct is that I want to ask something of my parents, but I don't think that I can do that within the scope of, they're not speaking to me. So I think that I want to ask Alaska, like I would want to know like actually like what she knows about our parents for real, like her, and maybe it's not like in detail about what she remembers from our childhood that I seem not to, but like there's obviously something that she doesn't want to talk about, and maybe at least like why she doesn't want to share with me, like if she doesn't trust me, you know.
Yeah. Um, the thing about Alaska is that she's not as perceptive as you. And so that whole bit that she has about that she had about like you just went into the woods one day and you just didn't stop going to the woods is like pretty much how she remembers it. Like she and this is legit from like my notes, is like she was she was there, that moment was there for you to know that something more was going on, not necessarily that she knows anymore of what's going on. She, was the oldest child of four, and y'all went on a little campy camp trip, and then suddenly you're in the woods and your parents are gone, and she had to like take ownership And I don't know, maybe there's some sort of something going on with her as well, since she was kind of cognizant, and has like maybe some sort of blockage in her memory or something. But if it's helpful, there isn't much more to explore from like there's nothing that she's really hiding.
Okay, so it's not like she doesn't trust me.
It's not that she doesn't trust you. No, she probably trusts you more now than she ever has trusted you in her entire life. And you guys are probably like on a path of closeness that you have not really had. Because she's just kind of a flake. She's just, you know, she's here for a good time, not for a long time. She like kind of flies by the seat of her pants. She's like going through the sexuality crisis. Like she's always just been kind of a little more wild.
Yeah.
In her own life, but then committing to telling you to chill out. So it's like that. It's classic like older sibling kind of vibes where, you know, they like to pretend they're all put together. They are not, but they will tell you how to be put together. So yeah, I would say like you don't get a sense, or like you can maybe put your energies in different places, and trust that like Alaska is really telling you all she knows, and maybe will go along with you as you start to discover it, and has her own curiosities now and is like kind of awake to the fact of like, oh yeah, that is weird that we did that. And my parents are wolves and I just have never been like, oh, what? But yeah, she just kind of is like, what the fuck ever.
Love it. Cool.
Yeah. Sophie, what about you? What you got? I see you cooking up there.
I've been thinking about, because there's questions that I want to ask Duffy, but it feels weird because he's gone. That it feels like I don't.
Oh no. Did she freeze?
I think I'll ask.
Oh no!
Oh no, Duffy! Duffy
Okay,
possessed her.
okay.
Oh god.
That's why I was like, oh god, and it just came up. The internet connection is unstable.
Oh no! Oh, we've got to hurry. Duffy's haunting you right now.
There's a ghost in the machine. Yeah. I don't know if y'all said anything in response to that. I just saw everybody's shocked faces get frozen for a while.
We were
like, oh.
Okay. Yeah. Think. God.
This is so tense.
And I am going to. I know.
And I think we're delayed for her too.
Cam, hold on.
This is
spooky. It's kind of scary.
Can you hear me?
Is Sophie in the future?
We keep losing you, Sophie.
Dang.
Type your question in the chat.
Yeah, I'm gonna type it in the chat.
Wait, now you seem.
Yeah, you seem okay now.
Oh, I closed Twitch, so that could have helped.
That did it.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. Yeah, it's tough because I want to ask Duffy, like,
oh my god, I'm gonna die.
Like, just in
I'm gonna piss myself. Oh my god, this is maddening. Sophie, type it in the chat. Type it in the chat. Oh, I feel so bad. This is unhinged.
That was too much for me.
I don't have a plan for this.
I don't like getting edged.
Asking.
Okay.
Good to know.
Asking Duffy like if he is okay and like how he is handling all of this.
Oh
man.
Oh god.
Oh boy.
See, this is one of those things where I was like, I'm not prepared to, so I have to really dig deep.
If Duffy had the power to answer that question, how would he answer it?
I mean, could he?
I mean, you know where
Yeah, as the self that he is now.
a iteration of Duffy.
Yeah, like, is there still any
exists.
Duffy consciousness left in Duffy?
So
I wasted my question.
I would say.
Okay, the question was to me.
I would say that Josie, you by nature of that gaze into the abyss that you had and the fact that this hollow came to you, there is a familiarity still with this hollow. It might have been in your brain, it might have been a thing, but the fact that you saw Duffy not as Duffy, you saw Duffy as present, is indicative of a connection. So I think that it is entirely possible that you can seek that hollow out. And I think that the fact that he did appear to you and led you to his new life was sort of an invitation and a little bit of like a, hey, I'm with her. That's what he said. And it was a declaration. It wasn't a cry for help. It wasn't a thing. Like, whether or not that is Duffy saying that is still unclear, but it seems as though this new entity was not, trying to hide itself as much as the others, like as much as Steve, as much as like whoever else is present. So I think that could be a little bit of insight into kind of the relationship that you can have with these hollows, because as we've seen with fake Steve, like these hollows are capable of putting themselves into different situations and like learning and growing. It's kind of like I kind of a little bit base the hollows on the Furbies, where it's like they'd start out being like, oh, what is this? And then by the end it's like, oh no, Steve, like if you would have let fake Steve keep going, and if fake Steve hadn't been like on a mission, then probably could have easily like indoctrinated himself into some sort of life.
Oh.
Okay, cool. Okay.
And that, don't let that scare you to think that there might be other hollows out there hiding. Definitely don't do that.
No way, for sure.
Yeah, it's not what I'm saying, you guys.
Or maybe real Steve never came back and I'm still fake Steve.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm glad I never had a Furby.
Zach. I'm glad I never had a Furby. And on that note, the title of this talkback is I'm glad I never had a Furby. Thank you all so much to Zach, Matt, Jenn, Emily, and Sophie. This is the farthest, we say it a lot, but this is the most consecutively we've ever played Monsterhearts, and it is pushing us into a very deep rendition of this game. So I appreciate all of you for showing up every session, open and vulnerable and ready to let me drag you in the muck of emotion and like just pure raw disgust. Sometimes I'm shocked at what even comes out. But tune in. Coming up, we have a session of campaign 3 on Sunday. We are at a new time at noon Central, so make sure that you get your brunch earlier on Sundays, so you can come join us, or bring your brunch and eat it while we play. That's fun. Oh, bye, Sophie.
Bye.
And then on Thursday next week, Curse of Strahd is going to continue with whatever unhinged fuckery is going on there. I know that there was some combat starting. So
hey, there she is.
Love it. And then sometime in the near future, we are going to finish up this freshman year of Monsterhearts. So you have that to look forward to. But otherwise, have a great rest of your Thursday night. Drink a water, have a snack, write in your journal about your thoughts and feelings, and come up with a code word of safety with your friends.
Pumpernickel.
Pumpernickel.
Pumpernickel! Everybody say bye.
Bye.
Bye.